Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I am finishing up a video I started a little while ago where I was talking about my 20 most memorable movie experiences of going to a movie theater and seeing a movie. I did number 20 through 11, like I said, it might have been 2, 3 weeks ago. I've been wanting to get back to talking about these great movie experiences that I had, um, which is interesting because I haven't been to a movie theater in over a year, and I don't know when I'm going to go back to a movie theater. So part of me kind of misses going to the movie theater. There was something kind of nice about, something that's kind of a special event, going there, being in the theater with other people, especially if you get to go with friends and family. It makes a really nice experience, nice outing. Uh, but then again, I do like watching movies in my house where I can get up and pause the movie and go to the bathroom, get snacks, and skip over parts I don't like. I also like that part, so I'm a little bit, I like both parts of that. Watch movies at home and go to the movie theater. So I don't know. Someday maybe I'll go back to the movie theater and see another movie. It is harder because I feel like movies aren't as good today as they used to be. Seems like more and more times I go to the movie theater, I don't like the movie, so I'm a little less motivated to go to a movie theater nowadays, especially since prices have been going up so much lately. But anyway, so this is I did number 20 through 11. I have a video if you want to see that. And again, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate all of you. And thanks for comments and just liking this. And I just really enjoy talking about movies and music. So I really appreciate all this. So I'll go with number 10 on my list. Is a movie called Mr. Holland's Opus, which I saw back in 1995, and I was about 12 years old or so. This movie about a music teacher played by Richard Dreyfuss, who kind of inspires students to be better and to reach their full potential and not giving up on them, and balancing that with his home life and being at the end rewarded with people coming to his retirement and showing their appreciation for what he did as a teacher. Um, Very inspirational movie, very uplifting movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Um, I feel like my dad maybe saw this movie first and he liked it so much that he brought the whole family or something like that. I know my dad was a huge fan of this movie, and so going into it, I knew it must be pretty good. My dad really liked it, and yeah, it did disappoint, of course. So many great scenes in this movie. Uh, that ending scene with all the students coming back to thank the teacher is so emotional. I love that scene. And probably the reason why this is so high on my list, because after seeing this movie, it really inspired me to want to be a teacher myself. I ended up going to college and got a degree in teaching history and government. Um, Ended up not being a teacher though. I'm actually a CNA at a nursing home. But I was substitute teacher for 3 years, and I applied for a lot of teaching jobs. Just was never able to get one, unfortunately. So I changed my career. But for a while there, I really my dream was to be a teacher, and I really wanted to be a teacher like Mr. Holland and really be there for the students and hopefully inspire them and want them to be the best they can be, and all that. So this is a movie that really inspired me for a career. So that's why it's so high on my list. It's a great movie experience because it really, um, when I thought about what I want to do when I grow up, I wanted to be a teacher, and so I have to thank this movie, Mr. Holland's Opus. Number 9 on my list is the Chronicles of Narnia. It came out in 2005. Um, Chronicles of Narnia is a movie I was aware of as a kid. There was a BBC series or um, made for TV kind of movie or whatever. I say BBC because it was all British actors, so I'm guessing it was like BBC or something. I don't know. My parents taped it on a blank VHS tape. I used to watch that over and over again. I loved Chronicles of Narnia, and of course this was back. I'm guessing it was back in the '80s maybe. So they didn't have any CGI. Everybody was just in costumes. So you had to really use your imagination for the animal parts because they weren't CGI'd animals like in this movie. but it still worked for me. I still love the overall story. Of course, it's written by C.S. Lewis, probably the most famous Christian writer. Um, he's Every Christian talks about C.S. Lewis. I mean, he's a very influential writer in Christian writing. He wrote a lot of famous books about Christianity, and then he wrote this famous fictional book, fantasy book, The Chronicles of Narnia. He first wrote this book, it's called Chronicles of Narnia: The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is the full title. He wrote this, and then he wrote some other in the Narnia world. I think there's like 6 or 7 books in total. This is definitely the best story of all of them. His first one, and of course, knowing that's from C.S. Lewis, a Christian, you really look at the Christian aspects of the movie. Of course, Aslan, the lion, he's really almost a god, Jesus-like character. He's ultimately good. He kind of created the world. The Narnia was kind of created by him, or was created by him. Uh, so he is God. But then he has, it's kind of like Jesus too, because he sacrifices his life to save Edmund. I believe it's Edmund. He saves. Um, and they have a scene where he has to go up these stairs, and they cut off his mane, and they kind of ridicule him, and they put him on a stone tablet, and then spoilers, she stabs him and kills him, and then he comes back to life a little bit later, kind of resurrects himself and comes back to defeat the White Witch at the end. There's the White Witch, something like that, the witch. Is very similar to the story of Jesus, of him sacrificing on the cross for our sins, and for him to be tortured and put on a cross, of course, and died, and then resurrected 3 days later. So there's a little bit of it's not exactly, but when you watch this movie, you can't help but think of Jesus and his sacrifice, I think, and that scene is just so emotional. I remember the first time seeing that in the movie theater. I think I saw it twice in the movies, if I remember right. And seeing that scene made me cry, because I just think about Jesus sacrificing his life on the cross. Is very similar to what Aslan was doing there. Anyway, so that's why it's so memorable to me. And watching that movie just made me really think about that. And I thought they did such a good job with the movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Chronicles of Narnia. Number 8 is Patriots Day. Came out in 2016. This is a movie about the Boston Marathon bombing that happened, where 2 Muslim Chechens from Russia had explosives in their backpacks, and they went to the Boston Marathon and left them there, and it blew up, and I forget how many people it killed, but it killed a number of people and also maimed many more lost limbs and were badly injured. And it was just a very horrible ordeal, one of the worst terrorist attacks we ever had in America. And of course, I remember when that happened, and I was at work, and I went by the TV, and I saw that there was a bombing in the Boston Marathon. And of course, and as I watched it, how sad and enraged I was that this happened. And then we went on a big manhunt to find the 2 Muslim terrorists, and eventually caught them. Or one first got killed, and the other one was kind of in hiding, but we caught him, and he's still in prison today. Very emotional, thing to happen in real life. And watching this movie reminds me of what happened in real life. They do such a good job of capturing what the feeling was at that time, and it was very emotional watching it, especially because you knew it was going to happen. You knew the bombing is going to happen. You almost watched the movie thinking, man, I wish the bombing wouldn't happen, but I know it's going to happen because that happened in real life. And so you watch it, and it happens, and it's so emotionally sad for me. And I cried watching that movie, and I watched it a couple times, and I always cry when I watch it because it gets me so emotional, because I remember that time. And you watch the movie, and it just brings you back to that time period. And I thought they did such a good job. Very suspenseful. Very my heart was like pounding out my chest in some scenes. It was a really great movie. And I love the ending where they show the real people that are portrayed in the movie. So amazing to see like all these real people. It really makes it more real. And good movie to watch to remember if you weren't around at that time. Good movie to watch to get that feeling of what happened. And yeah, not a better movie to show like what it was like at that time, and it was just it was a terrible event. So yeah, I highly recommend Patriots Day. Number 8 on my list. Number 7 is American Sniper from 2014. This I have kind of an interesting story, somewhat about this movie. I remember it coming out, and it was Clint Eastwood directed, Bradley Cooper starred, and it's about a real uh, Navy SEAL sniper, Chris Kyle, who fought in the Afghanistan War, Iraq War at the time, and he has the most kills as a sniper. I guess every time they kill somebody, they have to keep note of how many people they kill, and I guess he has the record at the time. I don't know, still maybe most kills as a sniper, and that's why it's called American Sniper. He wrote a book called American Sniper, which I've read too, which is an interesting book, kind of chronicling his life. Um, Anyways, so he's a real, American hero. Went over and fought many, many times, more times than he needed to. Um, and then it covers, coming back and having PTSD and what it's like to be a soldier coming back to real life and how difficult that is. And, you really feel bad for soldiers having to come back to society after, dealing with such horrific things in war and stuff like that. You really feel bad for them. And this movie does such a good job of really making you, kind of see what it's like for a soldier to come back, experience that. And, well, anyways, going to see this movie, it was a huge, huge hit. It was the biggest box office. It was the highest grossing movie that year, in fact, which is surprising because it's a radar kind of somewhat war movie, which usually aren't always the biggest box office movies. Usually it's like PG-13, more family-friendly films, or blockbuster superhero films and whatnot. So I remember when it's coming out, and I was kind of like very excited to go see it. I didn't really know a lot about Chris Kyle and his backstory or anything, or what happened to him. The fact that he then was killed, kind of murdered afterwards, after he was done with his tours. He came back home and he was murdered by another military man who he was trying to mentor, who had a lot of psychological issues, evidently. So it's very sad, his ending, how he survived all these wars of being shot at, and then ends up getting murdered when he comes back home. Very, very tragic. Very sad. So going to this movie theater, I went to the movie theater. I remember, I don't know, it might have been like a Friday night or something like that. And the movie theater is about 20-minute drive from my house, and so I remember driving to there, going to get a ticket, and then sold out. And it was at nighttime, and I work in the morning, so I couldn't watch another viewing. It was like I can only watch that time period, and I was so kind of upset and disappointed that I drove 20 minutes to go see a movie, couldn't see it, I had to drive back home. I was like, oh my gosh. So then the next night I try again. I go to the movie theater, and I think I got a ticket, but the place was like really filled. Like when I came in, it was really hard to find a seat. I mean, I've never seen movies so packed. I feel like it sold out one day, next day it was packed, almost pretty much sold out the next day. End up getting a ticket, and I had to sit way in the back. I found a seat in the very back corner, basically. Be able to watch the movie. And I remember before the movie started, I'm sitting there. There's all these families. That's what's surprising to me, was I was looking around. And there's all these, families with kids and all this, and I was thinking, like, why are these families bringing their kids? It's a rated R movie. It's not appropriate for a kid to watch. And so I'm probably a little judgmental when it comes to that. When I go to a rated R movie, I never like it when parents bring kids to it. And even PG-13 movies, sometimes I don't like, certain kinds. I don't like kids being there, because I just can't stop thinking about, these kids are watching this movie, and I'm thinking, oh, this isn't, when a scene comes up, I'm like, oh man, this scene's not appropriate for children, and I know there's children in the theater. I don't know why it bothers me a little bit, and it kind of distracts me a little bit from watching the movie, so I never like seeing that. So I remember watching all these families. I was like, why are these families here? It's a rated R movie about, deep subject about war. Anyways, and I also was like, they're taking up my seats. They're taking up seats that I could be sitting in. They got really good seats, maybe. like I would like a seat up there. Anyway, so I felt a little judgmental before the movie started. And then as I'm watching the movie American Sniper, I'm kind of one of the things I'm noticing is that it's really very patriotic movie. It shows American soldiers as good people, you know, and it's very kind of pro-America, pro-military type movie, and that's a very odd thing to see in movies nowadays. Seems like the liberal Hollywood loves to show soldiers being bad. They like to make America look bad. They like to make the American military look bad, and you get tired of seeing that. So it was really like a great fresh breath of fresh air to see a movie that's actually pro-America, pro-military, pro-American military, kind of thing. So as I'm watching it and I'm noticing that it's very pro-America, military type movie, I kind of think about, well, all these, I live in Kansas. We live in, I grew up in a small town. A lot of it's pretty conservative area of the country. And it's the Bible Belt. It's a lot of religious people, a lot of conservatives. So a lot of farmers and whatnot. And so I'm looking around thinking, there's probably a lot of conservative people, families, that brought their children to say, hey, here's American hero. Here's what America's about. Here's what American military is about. And I'm just guessing. I don't know. I'm guessing like maybe that's why they brought their kids there because they want to show them a real movie about American hero. And as I'm watching it, I started to change my mind, and I thought, good for these parents bringing their kids, showing them what a real American hero is, and what America's about, And so actually, yeah, I thought it was a good thing that they brought their kids, and I can only imagine they had some good conversations afterwards. So I was totally wrong about that. I was like, oh, good for them. They brought their kids, they brought their families. It's very, it's a good movie, even though it's rated R. There's cursing, there's violence. Uh, as a kid, I saw movies like Saving Private Ryan, and I say not a kid, but I mean, when I was a teenager and saw Schindler's List, I saw some movies that are very hard to watch, but yet they were important movies, I think, to kind of see what it was like at that time. So it's hard for someone younger, but yeah, they can get over it. They can learn something from it, learn a bit of history from it. So that happens, and so I'm watching it. Good movie, really enjoying the American Sniper. At the very end of the movie, Bradley Cooper plays Chris Kyle. He's having all this hard time coming back home to society after being at war. He keeps going back to doing more tours, even though he doesn't need to. And finally, he finally gets to a place where he's at peace, and he's having trouble with marriage trouble, and he's finally kind of his marriage is kind of getting better. He's coming back. He's staying home. He's being with the kids. There's this end scene where it's like they're finally at peace as a family, and they're finally being a family, and there's finally some joy in the movie. And then right at the end, he goes off with this soldier because he's mentoring other soldiers. He's helping other soldiers come back who have lost limbs and having PTSD, and so he's doing a really good thing. And he goes off with this guy, and then it's kind of the end of the movie, and then the credits come up, kind of, and it says that Chris Kyle died, was murdered by this guy that he took out, to shoot guns and talk to him about his experiences. And man, when that came up, I mean, the whole theater was like in shock, kind of. You can almost feel like the gasp in the air, like, oh man, I can't believe he got murdered after all he went through, and then he gets murdered. And even me, even though I knew he died, I didn't realize the circumstance. So even watching, I was like, oh my gosh, he got murdered. Like, this is terrible, So I was very sad to see that after he saw this whole movie about his life, and to see that he died that way. And then the very closing credits is his funeral. They show the actual footage from Chris Kyle's funeral, and there's no music, which I loved. Like, it was such a perfect way to end that movie. It's just no music, just showing the funeral. And boy, in the theater, of course, it's quiet, no music, and you could hear people crying. I was crying. Everybody around me was kind of crying. You can hear it. So it's like, man, we're all emotional after watching this movie and seeing what happened at the end. So it was a really amazing experience to me to feel that emotion and share it with this crowd. It's something really incredible about sharing moments with a crowd, and that's what I love about going to the movie theater. And I remember after that was gone, we kind of all got up and we started walking out, and nobody was talking to each other. It was a weird experience. Usually after a movie, you get up and you're talking to your family about the movie or whatever. You know, you hear people chatting as you're leaving. But nobody was chatting. We all just kind of got up in single file, it felt like, and just started walking out. And we're all, got tears down our face. And yeah, it was just the moment just felt like I don't need to talk. I shouldn't talk. I should just be quiet, just sink in this moment, walk out. Anyway, so it's such an amazing experience I've never had before in a movie, and I haven't since. So that's why American Sniper is number 7 on my list. Number 6, I'll end on this video with number 6, and I'll make another video doing the top 5. Number 6 on my list is Toy Story. Came out in 1995. Toy Story, I've been a long big fan of Disney movies. Growing up as a kid, of course, watched a lot of Disney movies. I watched even the old ones like Pinocchio and Dumbo and Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland. Like I watched all these old ones growing up, and I was a real big fan. And then the late '80s, you get like Little Mermaid, and then '90s you get Beauty and the Beast, and Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas. Yeah, huge fan of all these Disney movies. I always went to go see, of course, all 2D animation. And then remember Toy Story coming out and seeing the trailers for it and just being, wow, like 3D animation. We'd never seen that before. And I never even knew that was a thing or that was possible. So to see that, it was like wow, 3D animation. Like I never knew what, it's such a new kind of cool experience to see a 3D animation movie for the first time. I guess I put that in so high on my list because it was a really good movie. Still, I watched it recently. Still a really good movie because good story, great voice acting, really funny movie, really well done movie. And I remember seeing that as a kid and just absolutely loving Toy Story and just coming out like, I mean, that totally blew your mind. The 3D animation, like the animation. Now you look at it, the animation is not that good compared to what they do today. Is really amazing. But at the time, man, that was groundbreaking to watch a 3D animation movie. And Toy Story was just the perfect movie to come out. And you love the idea that these toys come into life. It was such a great idea. It's great world building of like they have their own community and they have meetings. And I don't know, I love it all. It was just really brilliant idea and really changed movies for it. Because after that point, Disney was still doing 2D animation. DreamWorks was doing 2D animation. Pixar was the first one that was doing all these 3D animation movies. And then once we get to, I don't know, 2000 or so, or early 2000s, Disney changes, basically does away with 2D animation, goes pretty much all 3D animation. Only exception, I think, is Princess and the Frog. Besides that, all Disney movies, animated movies, have been 3D. And then DreamWorks came out with like Shrek and then Kung Fu Panda and stuff like that, Madagascar. And so they've done only like 3D animation since then. And so 3D animation now is the standard bearer. And then when we see 2D animation, you think, wow, this is weird 2D animation. This is a kind of almost kind of nice when you see 2D animation now because it's something different. Because we're so used to 3D animation now, we forget that, oh, that's all we used to have was 2D animation. And sometimes I do like good 2D animation movies, somewhat kind of a new experience now. But still at the time, that was such a groundbreaking film, still a great film anyway, so I had to put that up there. So that's in my number 6. So I'll end there and do another video of my top 5. So thank you for watching and take care.